Let's discuss with defense and trial attorney Misty Marris. Misty, good afternoon. Great to see you as always. So talk to us about what the parole board is going to use as criteria to determine whether the brothers pose this unreasonable risk of danger to society that will determine what they do.
Yeah, very consequential day to day. So they're going to be looking at a few factors. They're going to be looking at rehabilitation, remorse, and reintegration. So rehabilitation, focusing on what of the Menendez brothers, and today Eric, because remember, they're being looked at as individuals. What has their conduct been like behind bars, whether that be some infractions or issues, or the positives, what they have contributed while they've been incarcerated. Remorse, we know this is a central question. Have they taken accountability for their actions? And then the last piece, reintegration. What happens if they are released from prison and reintegrated into society? And the overarching question, Boris, are they a threat or a danger to the community? And that's what they're going to be digging into by review of thousands and thousands of pages of prison records, going back to the facts and circumstances of the case, the information that came out in the trial, letters of support, and also remember there's a risk assessment that was done by the parole board, which includes psychological evaluation as well as a determination about what the risk factors are. So that's all in the hands of the commissioners who will make this decision today.
Yeah, and in one of those psychological evaluations that was done of the brothers separately, there was some dispute about the results of it. CNN hasn't had a chance to review it, but it is interesting that even those details are now up for debate. I want to ask you about what impact you think family members might have on this, because we know that about a dozen of them are going to speak on the brothers' behalf. Some 20 Menendez family members are going to be at the hearing, but we know that there are some family members who are not eager to back their release. What impact could they have, given that they're not only the members of the suspects, the convicted killers' families, but also families with the victims?
Absolutely. That is a unique factor in this particular case, that those who are advocating for the release of the Menendez brothers are also themselves victims because they killed their parents, so they're family members of the victims. That is absolutely going to be a factor that the parole board and the commissioners today will take into consideration. And it's interesting because it's not as clear as sometimes when we talk about other areas of the law, like sentencing guidelines, where there is a numerical score that is given. The parole board is going to be able to take many, many different factors into consideration, ultimately looking at that danger to society. And just an interesting way that the parole process operates, it's very conversational, Boris. So we're used to, in many legal proceedings, defense attorneys stepping in saying, objection, you can't ask that question. It is not like that in this process. It is going to be a dialogue between today Eric and tomorrow Lyle with those commissioners who are going to be asking these critical questions and taking many of those factors into account.
Yeah, it was interesting when Governor Gavin Newsom was asked about this. He sort of deferred on directly answering the question, except to note that he had previously gone against the recommendation of the parole board, specifically in the case of Sirhan, right? I wonder what you think, if you can discern anything from his public statements, what you think he might do.
Well, he is one that has taken cases where the parole board has recommended release and analyzes those cases independently and really goes through them and doesn't just accept what the parole board says and takes his role as the ultimate decision maker seriously. So it could certainly go either way. I've heard him make public statements which would tend to say that he's going to review this with that lens, and also keeping in mind, yes, there's all these factors that are inured to the benefit of the Menendez brothers. We know that they've done tremendous work while behind bars. We know that many people are advocating family members for their release, but this is also a double homicide. So the facts and circumstances of the case and what happened on that fateful day, that is not going to be lost on the analysis either. So all of that will be taken into account. I think he's done a great job of not showing his hand. And I do think that no matter what the parole board decides, he will do that independent analysis.
Misty Marris, thanks so much for the analysis. Appreciate it. Brianna?